109 years ago, a Ukrainian child went missing, and his body was found tragically murdered. In those days, it was famously known that Jews were accused of the blood libels of having used matzah, blood of Christian children, to bake their matzah. And shortly afterwards, just 2 weeks after, a Jewish man from Kiev by the name of Mendel Beilis, a father of 5 children, was accused of the crime of murdering this child for blood for the matzah. Poor Mendel Beilis was arrested in July, and he sat in prison for 2 years as his trial proceeded. Jews from not only throughout Russia but around the world came to his aid. And of course, the prosecutors dug up Jewish texts to try to prove that the Jewish people do not consider non-Jews as humans, and therefore are willing to murder Christian children to use their blood for their matzah. One of the texts in the Talmud that they found, that they used in the trial, was the Talmud says that Atem kruyim Adam. The Jewish people are called Adam. Adam means a man or a human. And they said, you see, the Jewish texts reveal that Jews only consider themselves to be human. They do not consider non-Jews to be human, and therefore they feel they have license to murder us, to use their blood, our blood, for their matzah. Now, of course, this is so ludicrous because one of the greatest prohibitions in the Torah is to eat blood, and we always salt our meat to remove the blood. But obviously, anti-Semites are willing to believe just about anything. And great rabbis from around the world and throughout Russia came to the side of the defense team to provide them with answers to these questions. And the answer provided by the defense, with the aid of Rabbi Shlomo Gansfried, one of the leading rabbis at the time, to this particular text is quite interesting. He said that there are many words to describe a human being in the Torah. Most famously, there is Ish, or Isha, man or woman. And then there is Adam, also a human, like the first human being. So Rabbi Shlomo Gansfried said, and the defense presented this in the court, that every word in Hebrew has a singular form and a plural. So a tapuach is an apple, tapuchim is many apples. The same thing with humans. Ish is a man, anashim is many men. Isha is a woman, nashim is many women. And every word in Hebrew could be found in singular or in plural. However, fascinatingly, there is only one word in the entire Hebrew language that you cannot translate or put it in a plural form, and that is the word Adam. Adam means a human, a being, a person, but there's no word for plural of Adam. You cannot say Adamim. And what the Talmud means to say is not, God forbid, that only Jews are human, because of course the Torah is the one that introduced the idea in Genesis, right in the beginning, that every human being is in the image of God, and God has his soul and his image imprinted in every human being, and every human being is sacred. However, what the Torah is telling us about the Jewish people particularly and exclusively is that you are called Adam. You are like one single person. There could be millions and millions of Jews, but you're like one single organism. And to prove the point, the defense said to the court, if a Russian man was put on trial, who would come to his side, to his aid? Maybe his family, maybe his friends. But when Mendel Beilis was put on trial, the entire Jewish world, not only throughout Russia, but throughout all of Europe, was sending money and supporting him, because when a Jew is being tried, it wasn't Mendel Beilis that was being tried, it was the entire Jewish nation that was being tried. And that's what's unique about the Jewish people. When a Jew is in trouble, every Jew around the world comes to their aid and cares. Why? Even if they never met the Jew, because they know they are Adam. We are one singular unit, like one body, like one organism. The head, the arms, the legs, every part is interconnected. When we meet another Jew, we immediately feel a connection, even if we've never met this Jew before, because we know we're part of one body, one organism. This week's parsha is all about not speaking gossip, not speaking slander, not speaking ill about other people. And fascinatingly, when the Torah begins the laws of tsaras, which was the leprosy that a person would get in biblical times, a skin lesion on their body because they spoke Lashon Hara, just like Miriam when she spoke Lashon Hara about her brother Moshe Rabbeinu, and she was quarantined just like we're quarantined today, till they could be readmitted in the community after they learned the lessons of isolation, of not speaking ill of others, and they felt the pain of loneliness, and appreciate the gift of speech. But when the Torah introduces all the laws of leprosy as a result of speaking Lashon Hara in this week's Torah portion, Torah begins by saying, Adam, a person who has on his skin a form of leprosy as a result of not skin disease that you go to a dermatologist, but you go to the Kohen to examine your deeds. And it's interesting that the Torah chooses the word Adam, not Ish. Say the rabbis a beautiful lesson, that the Torah is teaching us with the very first word of the law is what the cure to Lashon Hara is. You know why a person speaks gossip or slander about another person? It's because they see the other person as other, as outside of them, as separate of them. But if a person would realize that we're all one, Adam, there's no plural. All human beings are one. We're all interconnected. And therefore, just like you wouldn't speak badly about yourself, so too you shouldn't speak about another person. Because you're making a mistake when you think that person is outside of yourself. That person is a part of you. All of the Jewish people are one. And therefore never speak about another human being, because Adam, we're all singular. Just like the Talmud says, that if a person is cutting a piece of meat and he accidentally slips his hand and he cuts his finger, would he take the knife in the left hand and in revenge cut the right hand's finger? Never, because he realizes it's two hands of the same body. So too, trying to get even with people, trying to take revenge, trying to harm another person, to speak ill of them, is like harming yourself, because we're all Adam, we're all one singular unit. What a powerful lesson, especially in today's day and age, where social media and gossip columnists, and there is so much rampant Lashon Hara, that we should see others as a part of ourselves, as an extension of ourselves, and therefore never speak evil or ill of another person. The Midrash, there's a very peculiar Midrash, a puzzling Midrash, that tells a story about a certain demon, Ashmedai, who gave birth to two-headed creatures. And the Midrash says that he had children that were one-headed and two-headed. And the two-headed children came to the court and said, since we have two heads, we're entitled to a double inheritance, a double portion, because we're two human beings. And this case was presented to none other than the wisest king, King Solomon. And how did King Solomon resolve it? He said, take the two-headed child and put a blindfold over one. And then pour hot water on the head of the second head of the demon, and see if the blindfolded head screams out in pain. If the blindfolded head screams out in pain, then you know they're really one organism, one body, one human being. If it doesn't scream out in pain, it means they're two separate people within one body, and they're entitled to a double portion. What is the meaning and the message of this strange midrash? The lesson is very clear, that if when one Jew is in pain, the other Jew cries out in pain, that they feel the pain of the other, then they're one body, they're one organism. And that's a unique trademark of the Jewish people. When a Jew is suffering anywhere in the world, even if you've never met this Jew, you feel their pain and you want to help them. This exact point was illustrated this week in Israel in a very powerful way. It's a story that has gone viral within Israel and even beyond Israel in the press. It's a story about a man, 56-year-old man in Jerusalem. His name is Yuval Karmi. This man owns a falafel shop in Jerusalem. And he was sitting home because of the coronavirus quarantine, unable to go to work. Because the health administration said you cannot go to work. You cannot open shops. And one day he mistakenly understood that at this point you can go into your shop and open up. And so he went into his shop, he put up a sign, one customer at a time. He set up barricades that only one person can come in at a time to buy a falafel. A policeman came by and said, why are you open? You know it's illegal to be open. And the man started to cry. And it was captured on video. This man wearing a kippah, 56-year-old man with a mask on his mouth, starts to cry like a child. And he says, what am I supposed to do? I have a family, I have children at home. I have nothing to give them, I have no food in the house. He takes out his wallet, he shows the policeman, I have an empty wallet, I have no money. What am I supposed to do? I'm embarrassed to face my children. And the man is shaking and crying. And he said, I don't understand. Why could the supermarket be open with 3 or 4 people at each register bagging, and I can't be open? I'll give 1 falafel to a person. They'll go out, another person will come in. And the policeman says, well, why can't you just do deliveries? You're allowed to do deliveries. He says, I'm a one-man operation. I'm not set up to do deliveries. And he says, besides, falafel's not meant to be eaten with deliveries. Falafel has to be fresh, hot. You put in the salads and the falafel balls and the tchina. And he said, unless you have the tchina dripping from the sides of your mouth and you're wiping it off with a napkin, it's not falafel, he says. That's the way you eat falafel. And the man was crying so emotionally, uncontrollably, that the policewoman started to cry with him. And the reporter shows the way the policewoman turns away and she says, I can't do this. And she walks out of the store as she's weeping. This video went viral throughout Israel. And the next day, he started to get bombarded with calls. People started calling for orders. One woman called and said, we put together money in our kibbutz. We need 80 falafels for everyone in the kibbutz. Then she got a call from a hospital. We want an order, 200 falafels for all of the staff in the hospital. And orders started pouring in from all over Jerusalem and all over Israel. And this man became like a hero. And one man called his shop and he said, I was in your shop a number of months ago and I saw the way a group of soldiers came by and you gave them all free falafel. He said, I want to pay you now for all those free falafels you gave to those soldiers. And this man, Yuval Karmi, says, I don't want charity, I don't want handouts. He said, all my life, I've paid my bills, I've never asked for charity. I earned my parnasah, my livelihood, bikavod, with dignity. He says, I love this country. I'm in the reserves. I still go to duty as reserves in this country to serve the army and defend this country. I don't want stuck. Guy says, that was my mitzvah that I gave the soldiers falafel. I don't want any money. All I want to do is be able to earn a living, bikavod, with dignity. And this man became beloved by the whole country. And now he has more orders than he knows how to fill. And to the point that even the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, called him. And he put out the phone call on Twitter, as he had him on a speakerphone. He said, I have to tell you, you touched my heart so deep when I saw the interview. I want to help you. I want to order falafel too. And we're going to get you financial aid. We're going to get you the assistance you need for your business to thrive again. And what a beautiful example this was of the idea of Adam. When a Jew cries out and says, I need food to feed my children, I need parnasah, I need a living, my kids are hungry, I'm embarrassed to face my children, the orders, the help comes pouring in from all over Israel. Because Adam, we are all one. We feel each other's joy and we feel each other's pain. That's the blessing and the uniqueness of the Jewish people. But we have to remember that not only in difficult times, but even when a Jew is not crying out. When we're about to say something negative about another Jew or another human being, stop and think. Would I say anything about myself negative? Would I say anything about my wife or my children or my parents that is negative, my brothers or my sisters? Well, that fellow human being, that fellow Jew is a part of me as well. The Torah begins the laws of Tzuras with the word Adam to teach us that we are all truly one. Have a wonderful day.